Hello, welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK. I hope you've had a nice 2 weeks since I last spoke with you. We had Harry stay with us for the Easter holidays while his mum and dad went for a little mini moon after their wedding. So we had a lovely few days with him. We did lots of walkies with Charlie. We had family over to visit and family Easter Sunday lunch, and we also visited family too. It was lovely having Harry with us. He is a whirlwind of entertainment, but due to the fact that Harry was with us for that length of time, I haven't done as much crafting as perhaps I usually do, but I have done some. I'd like to thank everybody who entered my 50 subscriber competition from last time, and to thank you for the comments, and I will be drawing prize winners later. Let's get on with knitting. I don't have any finished objects this time, but I do have a work in progress, which is here. I've changed the bag this is in. This is now in this bag because I have mentioned before, this is the very first project bag I made, and I made it out of an old pillowcase of my daughter's. It was a favourite duvet set of hers when she was younger, and any projects I'm going to do for Jodie, I planned to put in this project bag, and I forgot. I don't know if you can see on the inside, as it was my very first project bag, my first attempt, I couldn't work out how the instructions were telling me how to do it so that the actual stitching was hidden inside, but I have since worked that out, so that's good. Anyway, this is the project I am doing for Jodie. They are the vanilla socks, toe up with an Afterthought heel from Nurturing Fibres. I said last time that I thought Nurturing Fibres must be on Ravelry, where I get most of my patterns from, but I believe they've got their own website, and it was a free pattern from there, and I will put along the screen the website name if you would like to go and look for this pattern. And also, I haven't mentioned before, I don't think, I do put show notes, detailed show notes of everything I talk about underneath the video, so if there's anything I talk about or you can't hear properly and you want to look at further, they are in there. I don't know how to do links yet, but the details are there anyway, so that's some help. So I am knitting these socks 2 at a time. So here they are, my two going. This is my first time doing 2 at a time, and I've got my notes here. I followed a tutorial from Off Our Needles, which are Jodie and Tracy from the Grocery Girls. They did one on their Craftsy channel, and it was just perfect timing because I was going to do these socks and I thought I wouldn't mind having a go at 2 at a time, and then their video popped up, so it was like it was meant to be. And it was really good because Tracy discusses how, or shows you how to do a did she call it, a Judy's Magic cast on for the toes, and then she shows you how to get the 2 pairs going at the same time, and you work from toe up. And then Jodie shows you how to do cuff down, which I haven't watched yet because I was doing this one first, and I don't get second sock syndrome because I'm quite new to knitting socks. I'm quite happy to do the second one, but what I do find is when I make 2 of anything, I always make them differently. So if I had done 1 at a time, I might have had 1 less stitch on a row. I always do something wrong, so they're never exactly the same. And so far, I haven't done any mistakes, and I don't have to do any counting or measuring, because other than the once, because I don't have to make sure this foot is exactly the same length as this foot, because I know they are, because I'm doing them at the same time. So I think this might be my preferred way of knitting socks. And I'm going to have a go at the cuff down as well and see how that works, but I do like doing 2 at a time. So the yarn I'm using for this, I have said before, it's the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, which is that one. And I balled them up because obviously I split the yarn into two, and I'm trying to make them identical, although one is half a row in front of the other, but I don't think you'll notice. I'm just at the point where I'm going to knit in some waste yarn because it's an Afterthought heel, and I haven't done that before either. And then I've got my First Regia there in this yarn. It's just colour 1592, a tiny little ball. The postage was more expensive than the yarn, but live and learn. Anyway, it suits the socks, so I'm quite happy with that. So that's my only, oh, there was another thing I had to mention that I did put up on Instagram was, does anybody else make cardboard cutouts of their family's feet? I just thought this was a good idea. This is my stepmother's foot. She's got a tiny foot, and my daughter's foot is very much, well, a very similar size. So I only need one template for 2 people. So I use that, and I've got a little one that was Harry's foot, but it's probably much bigger now and then I've got my own foot, which might seem a bit odd because you obviously take your own feet with you everywhere. But if I was taking my knitting project somewhere and I needed to see how far along I was going, I wouldn't necessarily want to whip off my socks and try a sock on. So my little template would work fine, and I have one for my son. While he was away travelling, I was going to make him some socks and send them to him, but I never did. But now I've got his foot template. The beauty of these is you can knit socks for your family members or friends, and they don't know because you don't need to measure their feet or ask them for measurements or to test how big the socks are that you're knitting. So it is a nice proper surprise. So anyway, I just thought I'd talk about my little cardboard feet. Right, on to crochet, works in progress. Oh, I've forgotten my book. I'm using a Tunisian crochet book. I have shown it in past episodes, just to make the squares. So I'm making some little squares like this. This board I bought from Etsy for just granny squares to block them. I'm quite new to blocking, so I don't really know what to do, but well, not to do, but I haven't done much blocking. But this worked out quite well because although all the yarns, the different yarns I used were 4-ply, and I used the same crochet hook, the same stitch count, they all came out different sizes, which is a lesson to me for checking your gauge, because I don't do that either very often. And all the years I used to knit just from knitting patterns from magazines, and you just knit the front, the back, the sleeves, and you put it all together. They always said about gauge, and I always just ignored it and just got the yarn they said and the needle size they said and went for it. And I didn't really think that there would be that much difference. But even just from yarn to yarn with this, I realise that it can make a huge difference. So I will be swatching for every garment particularly that I make in the future. So the colours I used, or I'm using scrap yarn for this, but these are the different yarns that I'm using at the moment. So that's my Owl About yarn Sparkle Owl, February the 14th. I got that last Valentine's Day. And this is my leftovers from My Mama Knits, and it's Superwash Merino in Mad Tea Party. I made a little cardigan for a friend's granddaughter, and to that one. This is Sarah's Texture Crafts in Old Gold. I have made a few projects with this, last being my Hungry Bees socks, and it doesn't have much luck because I made a shawl out of a Hohi Locatelli shawl to begin with, and I went completely wrong. So I undid it, and then I used it as socks, and I've undone that. So these little squares are not going to be undone. This is going into my Tunisian crochet blanket. And then last but not least, Fondant Fibre. It's superwash and it's in Harmony. It is actually green. It's lovely sort of pepperminty green, but it's looking a bit grey on the screen. So that's my crochet. Whoops, I'll just put that down there a minute. Oh, dropping things already. I put everything out. I try and be so organised, and it all rolls off everywhere. So, oh, swatching. What's that? I got. Oh, that's my. Sorry, it's my sock pattern. See, I am totally disorganised. Put that back, otherwise I'll be looking for it later. So as I was saying, I haven't swatched much in the past. My grandma taught me to knit when I was about 7, and I'm sure she didn't swatch either. And she just taught me to knit basic. Well, she taught me to knit, and most people, I believe, who start learning to knit are taught how to make a scarf or a square, something quite simple. This, bearing in mind I'm 50 and this was made when I was 7, this was the project my grandma taught me to knit. A little mouse. This isn't actually my mouse, this is my grandma's mouse, because I knitted away and I got about halfway there and I must have missed a row, and then his bottom was all pearl bumps and the front was knit. So I don't know where that went. I wish I kept it. I probably just got rid of it because it went wrong, and I kept my grandma's, but she sadly is no longer with us. So all the little things that she used to make, I treasure now. And when my daughter Jodie was little and she was in junior school, she went to a school disco. I don't know if you remember, well, she probably will remember this. And the theme was nursery rhymes. So I dressed her as Hickory Dickory Dock, and I got a cardboard box and I painted it brown, put the clock face on and stuck our little mouse onto that. So I thought she looked very good, but apparently it wasn't very good for sitting down because I hadn't thought about how she'd sit down, so she had to stand up the whole disco. But that's okay, you should be dancing in a disco, shouldn't you, not be sitting down. So anyway, that was my first project. I just thought I'd show you that. Right, I thought next I would combine in the pipeline with my 50 subscriber giveaway. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel and who has left such lovely comments in the past and been so encouraging. That's why I wanted to do this giveaway, to thank the people who have followed me from the beginning or new people who've just found me, because I get such lovely comments and thumbs up, and it is really encouraging, and that's part of the fun of podcasting, being able to interact with other people. I've put all my little comments from people in this little bunny basket, Harry's. So the question was, which item should I knit next? Should it be the Love's Promise cardigan? And I'm going to knit that in Ellie's yarn from CraftHouseMagic. I have skeined it up in Here Comes the Rain Again, and because the yarn is so lovely and pretty on its own, I wanted the pattern that I was going to use to be quite simple, to show the yarn off to best effect. So this is plain, but there is, I don't know if you can see, the tiniest bit of cabling down the side there, and also the sleeve has a little bit of detail there just at the cuff. So I thought that would add enough interest, but the yarn can speak for itself. Or I was going to do the flax jumper there, and I like that for a similar reason, because they had the pearl stitches showing on the sleeve all the way down, and I thought that was quite a nice idea as well. So the overall majority of people suggested that I should knit the Love's Promise, and I think it was a lot to do with Ellie's yarn being so beautiful. So thank you for that. So that's the next one I will be knitting. I have done a swatch because I've been keeping an eye on the comments and I could see the majority, it was very unlikely that the flax sweater would catch up with the amount of people who suggested the Love's Promise cardigan. So I have done a swatch square, and I don't know if you can see the sparkle, but it is sparkly, and it's so light and floaty. It's going to be a lovely cardigan for the summer. I knitted this swatch square using these Knit Pro Zings 4mm, which is the 4mm is what the pattern suggests, and I got gauge straight away, so that was good. But I find on these that my stitches were catching on the join, and it was quite annoying, and I think I've used them before and found it's really slows you down because you have to sort of pull them along. And I have got some wooden symphony needles in 4mm, so I think I'm going to knit them on those and see if that helps, because it's quite annoying when the stitches keep getting stuck on the circlers, but I do like knitting with circlers. So it took a little while getting used to, because I always used to knit with straight needles, but I do like the circlers best now I've got used to them. So anyway, that's what I'm going to knit, but let's do my very first giveaway. So we have 2 prizes that you could win. The first was the Tyddyn 4-ply sock yarn in her Daffs colourway, and it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina sparkle, and it is really sparkly and lovely, and like I say, a little bit jealous. I'd like to have this for myself. And the other prize, because we are having a little Welsh theme going on here, is what everybody really wants. Gaga knits my very own personal Welshcake recipe, plus some Chapel View Crafts little Welshcake stitch markers. So the recipe and the stitch markers go together as one gift, and the yarn is another one. So let's see who wins. So I'll go in my little bag, and I just put everybody, I folded everybody, I printed off all the comments from YouTube, and I cut them up and I folded them up old-fashioned style, just like a raffle. So here we are. I'm opening the first one, and the first winner is Simply in Stitches, and I printed off the comments as well, so well done. And it's, hi Anita, I think you should knit the cardigan first. The weather will be getting warmer, and it will be lovely as a light layer. I have knit the flax twice, one in wool and the other in cotton. It's a fantastic pattern, lovely to knit and really comfortable. I wear mine all the time. Happy knitting. So that's Tina from Simply in Stitches. So well done, Tina, and you win the Tyddyn 4-ply sock yarn in Daffs. That's wonderful. And we'll go in again and see who the second winner is. And oh, I should hold it up so you can see. I know everybody does everything electronically. The second winner is Clare Plant. There you go. And it says, what a lovely family time you have had, Anita. I would choose the Promise cardigan in Ellie's gorgeous yarn. So there we are. So Claire, you win the Welshcake stitch markers and my Welshcake recipe. If anyone else would like my Welshcake recipe, you're more than welcome just to comment with a comment below, and I will send that to you. It's like I say, it's been tweaked over the years, so it's totally mine. It's not out of a recipe book or anything, so I won't be getting into trouble. So if Claire and Tina could please private message me and let me know your addresses, and I shall get your prizes out to you. So well done to both of you, and thank you everybody for entering and being so supportive. I really do appreciate it. Moving on to sewing. I thought this week I would start with acquisitions because I've had some nice things and also they link into what I've been making. So firstly, I will show you my belated Mother's Day presents off Jodie and Matthew. So over it, Elsie dress, which I'm really looking forward to making. And there's the line drawings on the back. And what I really like about this dress pattern is quite often this type of dress, especially with the V in the front, would have a V in the back. But I quite like the back to be higher, and this one is. So I'm looking forward to making that the dress. There is a skirt as well, but I think I will do the dress version first and then maybe try the skirt at a later date. I'm just looking for the material. Oh, brocade, jacquard, stretch cotton or cotton sateen, because I've got some cotton in my stash, but it's not cotton sateen, it's just normal. I don't know whether, anyway, I shall have a little investigate whether I could use that, because I have some really nice fabric with caravans and things on that might look quite nice in that, so we shall see. And they also got me some lovely fabric from Sew Over It. So I've got 1.5 meters and I will find the perfect project for it. So thank you, Jodie and Matthew, very much. I do appreciate my presents. It's very sweet of you. Very nice to get me sewing related items. One of my acquisitions that I purchased for myself. I'm just showing you the box because it's the walking foot. And for my sewing machine, I've got a genome, and this is just a generic foot for it. I did look at the proper genome walking foot, and I've got it in my notes. On Amazon, it was £35.90 for the proper genome foot, and this one cost me £8.95, and the reviews were mixed, but I thought, well, I'll give it a go because I'm not that new to sewing anymore, but I always feel, because I'm still learning, that to spend a lot of money on it would be wrong. But then I'm also learning that if you buy the cheapest thing, sometimes it makes it harder for you, and if you haven't got the skills to counteract that, that can also be an issue. But in this case, I'm happy to report I love this foot. It was easy to put on my machine. Some people said that they found them awkward, but it was fine, and it really helped because I still got it on my machine, because I think I'm going to try and use it as much as I can, because when sometimes I pin things together, I'm really careful as the machine the foot is sewing the material, I can see it moving, and I get to the end and it's slightly out of line, and this foot stopped that happening, so I was very pleased with that. So that is one of my acquisitions, and this is my other acquisition, which is a bit large, and it's a cutting mat, and it's the large size. It's the A1 size. I have got an A2, but I find it's not quite big enough, and I have to shift everything around to try and cut my fabric, and I'm trying to be more accurate with things like that. So I decided to buy a bigger mat, because I do use the other one a lot with my rotary cutter, so cost per use, it's going to be very good value for money, and it wasn't that expensive anyway. So on to finished objects. I am wearing my finished object. So I made the Grainline Studio Lark Tee, and I did the long sleeved round necked or scoop necked version in this stripy fabric. I shall just get up to show you. It won't be a moment. I'll have to move my chair over. So here we are. Here it is, my Grainline Studio Lark Tee. I tried to pattern match. It's my first attempt at pattern matching, and I don't think I did too badly, especially, well, that's gone. That one's out, but that one's not. and I have got a little bit of a pucker there. Sorry, sit back down. I have got a little bit of a pucker here because I'm not used to putting neck bands in, and it was quite fiddly. That was the fiddliest bit. And I know people say, I've watched other podcasters say, oh, it's not necessarily this pattern, but they say they find a pattern that they find really easy and they could sew it up in an hour. And I used to watch those and think, gosh, I could never do that. I didn't sew this up in an hour, but I see what they mean because it was such a lovely, easy, simple pattern. And the most difficult thing was the neckband, and that's only because I haven't really done them before. But I watched on Lauren Guthrie's YouTube channel. She's got a tutorial on how to insert stretch necklines, and I watched that, but I watched it after I'd made the top. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to make more of these, and I'll give it another go again then. And what she did, rather than put the loop together, what she said was, don't just take it as gospel that the neckband length of the pattern piece is necessarily what you need. You need to measure it out yourself because it depends on the amount of stretch in the fabric and things like that. And I just used the pattern piece because I didn't know any different, but it did fit. I think it was just more me not having done that before, so I was quite pleased with it though. And the actual t-shirt fits. I wanted it fairly loose, a nice just casual top, and it fits me. I'm really happy with it, and I think other than that, and it would be right in the front, wouldn't it? Right in the front, right in the middle, perhaps a little feature. But apart from that, it came together really well, and I quite like the stripes with the pattern matching aspect because it helped me line everything up. So I will be making more of these. I think that's all I've got to say about this pattern. I think so. Oh, I did have a problem with my tension. I don't know how it happened. I sewed the shoulders and I sewed all down the one side, and then when I did the other side, my machine was making a slight noise, but because the stitches were still stitching, I just carried on and hoped for the best. And when I took the fabric out of the sewing machine, when it got to the end, I could see it was quite ruched up and it had gone too tight. My tension had gone very tight. Very tight knit stitch with a thread that matches your material perfectly is nigh on impossible to unpick, I have discovered. And I was worried I was making holes in the jersey, so I unpicked as many stitches as I could and then just stretched it back out and adjusted my tension as per my little instruction manual, and finished the rest of the project off just using zigzag stitch because I was scared if it went wrong again I wouldn't be able to unpick the knit stitch. So one side has the knit stitch and one side has zigzag stitch, but you can't notice, and I zigzagged the collar and the neckband and the sleeves and the hem. Everything that came after the second side was zigzagged, but that was fine. It all worked out well in the end. So that was the only problem, and that wasn't the pattern's problem, that was my problem. And now I've learned how to check for the tension, so I will be watching for that in future. So it's all a learning curve really, isn't it? Moving on to Walkies with Charlie. This episode, Walkies with Charlie, is actually going to be Walkies without Charlie. As I said earlier, we had Harry stay with us over the Easter holiday, and although we did lots of walkies with Charlie, we also did some visiting. We went to visit my dad and stepmum who live just outside the Forest of Dean, and Harry came with us, of course, and Charlie didn't. And we went to the Dean Heritage Centre, which is a small museum near where they live. It shows the social and industrial history of the area, just a little snippet of that, and it was quite interesting there, and I thought I would put a few photos of that in instead. And it also had a Gruffalo trail, which Harry liked a lot, and they were all the little animals and everything in the trail were all hand carved out of wood, so it was very nice. It wasn't a particularly nice day, it was a little bit grey, but we had a nice time, and I thought I'd put a few pictures of that in instead of our usual walkies. So I hope you're not too disappointed not to see Charlie this time, but she will be back next time, I promise. So just to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much if you entered my competition. Well done to Tina and Claire. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me, press the subscribe button. I do try and record every second week, so on a Sunday, and then upload ready for everyone to watch it on Monday, so every other week anyway. But if you subscribe, if I put any extra videos in or anything like that, you shouldn't miss anything. So thanks for watching, have a lovely 2 weeks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.